Okay, we'll start up on time. Absolutely. Um, yeah, ready to go. Uh,
Yes, Ritu.
okay. So, hi everyone. A warm welcome. My name is Ritu Nanda. I work with Global Fund for Children and ISST. Today, what are we going to do in this webinar? We will all share the implementing team, the evaluation team, the actions communities are taking for their health. And we also hope that you bring in your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience so that we co create knowledge and we all enjoy ourselves and, reflect that what is our own, my own individual role in this development. So we will begin with Luke. From the constellation. He will welcome us. He's a medical doctor, MPH in epidemiology, um, and international public health from Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. He's the board member of the Constellation. He focuses on fundraising, development of partnerships, and projects and programs for dissemination of SALT and CLCP. He is also involved in training of SALT facilitators. Enjoy, everyone, and over to Luke, please. Kamalika, I can't see the
Good
slide.
morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. My name is, as Ritu said, my name is Luc Barrière-Constantin, and I am welcoming you to this webinar on behalf of the Constellation. Before any further ado, I would like to thank our partners in that project before and for the organization of this webinar. The Medtronic Foundation for its financial support and technical inputs, and our partner in the field, Manta Health Institute for Mother and Child, the Chai Catholic Health Association of India, and RICFI, Ramaya International Center for Public Health Innovation. Without them, we won't have been able to carry out these activities in this project. That collaboration has been very fruitful and enriching, and we look forward to work again together. We hope that the presentation and the following discussion of today will further contribute to put the human being at the center of the medical responses, being for non-communicable diseases or for any others. We all believe that in the capacity of the people and their communities to face challenges. The result that will be presented today gave us further confidence that we can stimulate and nurture the development of these local responses through the raise of community ownership. That implies changing attitudes and creating demands for services by community members. It also means an open and frank dialogue within the communities sharing the same concern. The methodology used will be briefly presented to you. You would find more on the various links that we will provide during the webinar and after. You will see some of the testimonies of users and recipients of the interventions. These are touching stories of change illustrating communities' activities. The results of a rigorous evaluation of the impact of that methodology will be then presented and discussed during the coming 90 minutes. We hope that it will stimulate our discussion and your interest for more information. And I am sure you will enjoy our interactions. So thank you very much, and over to you, Ritu.
Thank you so much, Luke. I want to share a tiny story, the importance of connecting as a human in SALT. So, Luke, I've known for years, but it's only when we had to send CV. His CV for this NCD project is I got to know that he's a medical doctor. So he had always related to me as a human being, Luke. Okay, so next is Mr. Vinaykan. He works with Mamta Health Institute for Mother and Child. He's a senior development professional with 22 years of experience in planning, implementation, health system strengthening, monitoring, and evaluation of rights based development programs in marginalized communities in India as well as Africa. He's dedicated to maintaining high quality standards in program implementation with effectiveness. Mr. Vinayakan, who joins from Delhi, is going to share that why SALT approach was adopted in HealthRise. Over to you, Mr. Vinayakan.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's evening in Delhi, India. And for other Indians colleagues, who are joined this evening, I think in Europe, it may be, I think, afternoon or morning. Okay. So, Ritu, thank you so much. And see, I'm back in Magda in July 2020. Before that, I was part of the implementation of HealthRise project, which was implemented from 2014 to 2018. Because what we have experienced is that because unlike other, some chronic diseases like HIV and tuberculosis, there is no visible symptoms or not visible, kind of pain or kind of, which bothers the patients. And there was the community ownership and the patient ownership was missing. Then what happened is that after consultation with Dr. Nanjeet and the Medtronic Foundation, we approached Constellation, who has done wonderful work on HIV in different part of the world, for with the patients and with the community, taking the, to inculcate the ownership part. So we approached Constellation, so requested them that can we pilot this approach in NCD in India. Then we selected 14 villages in Himachal Pradesh in Shimla and 5 villages in Udaipur, Rajasthan. And it was a pilot. Okay. So then the findings were very encouraging. We could find that, a lot of community participation, a lot of patients ownership was there. So there was no but empirical evidence, we didn't collect the data properly. We thought that, but based on these findings, why can't we have a separate program purely focusing on SALT and CLCP? Then thanks to Medtronic Foundation and Dr. Nanjeet, a 1-year transition grant was given to us from May 2019 to April 2020, where we really focused, the previous 2,000 plus patients and from Shimla and a few patients from Udaipur. We applied this approach among them, and there was a control group also, which Ramaiah Institute will be telling about that. Then we implemented this project exclusively with the patients and also involved the frontline health workers. So the findings really were really encouraging of the transition grant, and we could see that the community ownership really picked up, and that was the history of the CLCP and SALT, why we adapted into the HealthRise project. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vinayakan. Before we move ahead, a little bit of taste of salt. Yeah. So what does a health worker have to say about it? So because of COVID-19, we could not go and visit and involve them. So we asked them, could you send your video? So it is in Hindi, and I will put an English translation here. But I would really like you to listen to their voice and their emotions. Yeah, here is Asha Anita from Himachal.
जैसे कि SALT अप्रोच से पहले जैसे लोगों को कैसे मोटिवेट करना है, उनके साथ कैसे बात करनी है, 4 लोगों का मीटिंग में इंटरेस्ट कैसे बनाना है, एक पेशेंट से दूसरे पेशेंट को मोटिवेट कैसे करना है, तो ये मैंने SALT से सीखा है। जो SALT से पहले की मेरी सिचुएशन ये थी कि मुझे बात करने में बहुत ज़्यादा हेजिटेशन होती थी, मैं लोगों से अच्छे से बात नहीं कर सकती थी। तो बदलाव ये आया कि आज जब से मैं SALT में जुड़ी हूँ, तो मुझे अब हेजिटेशन नहीं होती है, मैं अच्छे से बात कर सकती हूँ। और ये बदलाव इसलिए आया कि मैं अब लोगों से बात कर सकती हूँ, उनकी बातों को अच्छे से सुन सकती हूँ। और जो इसका रिज़ल्ट इसका बहुत अच्छा रहा, जो मुझ पर लोग अब बहुत ज़्यादा विश्वास करते हैं, जो मैं मतलब उनकी दिनचर्या अच्छी बन रही है, हो रही है, जो मैं कहती हूँ वो करते हैं, जैसे सुबह व्यायाम करते हैं, योगा करते हैं, सैर करते हैं। तो जो रिज़ल्ट था SALT का, वो बहुत ही अच्छा रहा। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Anita. So the power of deep listening by the government health worker. And now let's listen to Rajendra. He was the supervisor of the project with Mamta. And what does he say? And he did not restrict it, and the communities didn't restrict it to diabetes and hypertension. Let's listen to him. And the translation is here. Kamalika, please play. Yeah.
कर दिया। हमारे जो 6-7 पेशेंट के साथ हमारे 20-20 लोग भी मीटिंग में आते थे। तो इसमें बहुत सराहनीय काम गांव के लोगों ने किया। क्यों किया? वो इसलिए उन्होंने किया कि उनको लगा कि सॉल्ट अप्रोच सुनना किसी है उसकी बात को अहमियत देना और उसके ऊपर काम भी करना। तो सॉल्ट ने यही चमत्कार किया कि लोग सोचते तो थे कि हमें खान पान हमारा सही नहीं है, तभी हमारा जो घर है, हमारा जो शरीर है, हमारा जो परिवार है, हमारा जो समाज है, वो बहुत ज्यादा बीमारियों से ग्रसित हो रहा है। हम केमिकल युक्त खेती करते हैं अपनी पैदावार बढ़ाने के लिए और नई नई दवाइयों का, जिसमें कि फंगिसाइड है, पेस्टिसाइड है और बहुत सारे ऐसे केमिकल है जो हम कीटनाशक के रूप में अपनी फसलों के लिए यूज करते हैं। कहीं ना कहीं वो हमारे अंदर जा रहा है। बहुत साल पहले बीमारियां इतनी ज्यादा नहीं थी, बीपी शुगर तो हमारे गांव में था ही नहीं, लेकिन आज हमारे घर में हर बंदा, हर तीसरे में से एक बंदा इन बीमारियों से ग्रसित है, गैर संक्रामक रोगों से। तो लोगों ने खुद अपनाया अपनी लाइफ में कि हमें ऑर्गेनिक खेती करनी है और अपना खान पान ठीक करना है। हम पहले अपने परिवार और गांव से शुरू करेंगे। उन्होंने क्या किया कि अपने खाने की जो दैनिक भोगी चीजें हैं, जैसे अनाज है, वेजिटेबल है, फ्रूट्स है, हिमाचल में फ्रूट बहुत होता है, उसमें भी केमिकल का बहुत ज्यादा यूज करते हैं लोग। तो लोगों ने सोचा कि क्यों ना इसे ऑर्गेनिक तरीके से किया जाए, और ताकि हमें अच्छी चीज और सही हमारे पोषक तत्व जो हमें वेजिटेबल अनाजों से मिलते हैं वो मिल जाए। तो लोगों ने 3 गांव, हमारे पास 36 गांव थे, 36 गांव में से 3 गांव ने ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग के ऊपर उनकी अपनी इच्छा से काम करना शुरू कर दिया। और ये अप्रोच सॉल्ट अप्रोच ने ही काम किया। सॉल्ट अप्रोच ने कैसे काम किया कि लोगों को लगा कि हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट तो हमारे पास नहीं आने वाला है, ये हमारा अपना गांव है, हमारा अपना स्वास्थ्य है, हमारा सब कुछ अपना है, तो हमें इसे करना चाहिए। और हमने ग्रीनरी भी खत्म कर दी। ग्रीनरी के लिए भी बहुत ज्यादा उन्होंने काम करना शुरू कर दिया। जो हमारी बंजर भूमि थी उसमें हमने पेड़ पौधे लगाने शुरू कर दिए, और ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग को अच्छे ढंग से करने के लिए उन्होंने सरकार से भी मदद ली। सरकार भी जैविक खेती करने के लिए लोगों को बढ़ावा देता है, और इन ग्रुप के लोगों ने सरकार के पास भी जाना शुरू कर दिया और बोला कि हमें इसके ऑर्गेनिक खेती के नुस्खे बताओ, हम इसे अब लार्ज स्केल में करेंगे।
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, before we proceed, you must be curious what is SALT, what is CLCP. So we'll share that with you. But before, a little bit of self-reflection. Next slide, please, Kamalika. So a question for you all. Okay, what is your idea of participation? In whatever work you do, whether you're doing evaluation, whether you're teaching, whether you're working with communities. And if you can, please leave this in the chat. Okay, collaboration, attendance, ownership in the process, sharing knowledge. Who shares with whom and whose knowledge? Ian, community defining what they want to do, planning how to do it, implementing and reflecting and learning. Being able to take part with full passion. when there is no cohesion. Okay, wow. You see how much wisdom you all have? Active engagement and collective learning. When we listen, learn, share. Sustained presence. Wonderful. Just imagine if we were all working together, what would happen? Okay, so that's wonderful. So this is we were also trying to do something along these lines. Next, please. SALT and CLCP. These are acronyms. Kamalika, I don't know why I see these gray boxes. Yeah. Okay, so there were two. Yeah, still. Anyways, I'll keep talking. So this entire process has two basic principles, and this comes from my own understanding. First is this idea of ownership. So what is our theory of change? Our theory of change is that it is when people own it, and what we mean what has happened is that we all have been and that has increased the reliance on us. So when they recognize their own strengths, what they are capable of, they are able to do much more, and they have been doing it for centuries. Yeah. Okay, next please. Okay, so this is the process we followed, and this process has two elements to it. One is the way of working, which is SALT. S is to stimulate, appreciate, listen, learn, transfer. So a group of people, the NGO staff or health workers, or those working with communities or teams, and we've done it with organizations, accompanying so they're co-travelers as the community takes action learning process with this mindset to appreciate and to deeply listen. So this is what we were doing in this project. And it was unlearning because the staff here had already, as Mr. Vinayakan said, had already been working with these communities and were trying to raise awareness and tell them, do this, do that. So the unlearning is for the people, they themselves have to change, who work with communities. And communities were also unlearning because they had got used to others coming and telling them. So the communities were taking this cycle, this learning cycle. So here what we know, please, Kamalika. So step one is where we help them realize what are their strengths. In this, we already, when we joined this project, they already had patient support groups of patients and important people in the village. We invited the families. Aren't they important in our health? We invited the young people, the SAGs, and helped them realize each other's strengths and their own strengths. And the second step was, once they were ready, they wanted to do something, and we asked them, what is your dream? What is your dream for health? The larger dream. And which inspired people. So those who didn't have diabetes, they wanted to support. They wanted to take action for their health. Unfortunately, COVID came and we could not do step 3 and step 4, which is where communities assess their own progress and make an action plan. But the communities were so excited and that it was theirs, that they had already taken some small actions which we can celebrate today. So this is briefly the process. And if you want to know more, please, one of us, you can talk to one of us. Yes, next slide, please. Yeah, so it's developing facilitation skills of people who work. So being facilitators rather than experts and teachers. They were facilitating home visits because sometimes older people, those who cannot come out or attend these meetings, as well as group meetings to engage everyone. Yeah. Next, please. Sorry, it's my dog. Okay, so it's the common dream which brings people together. What's your dream? That means us letting go, taking sailboats instead of trains, and leaving it to the community and having the patience. So this is what. This is one child with his dream for the health of his village. Intergenerational, multi-generational response to health. Just one last thing, we were also building the capacity of the health workers. We had a lot of challenges, COVID, unlearning, and we had very few months. But the communities did not stop. So when COVID came, they took several actions when we couldn't go, and you'll hear about it a bit later. Yeah, so if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat box. Yeah, so now let's listen to the evaluation team. What did they think of this entire process? We must appreciate the evaluation team who did this entire evaluation. They did not give up, and they did it during COVID-19. Dr. Anand and Dr. Santosh. Yeah.
Thanks, Ritu. That was fascinating indeed, and we are still to this day we're fascinated by what SALT means.
Right.
To begin with.
Yes, let me introduce. Sorry, I forgot. Okay, so Dr. Anand was the technical lead of monitoring and evaluation team from Ramaiah International Center for Public Health Innovations. Currently, he serves as program specialist health systems in RICFI. It's called as an acronym of this organization. And he's also an assistant professor in the Department of Community Medicine at Ramaiah Medical College in Bangalore. And our second evaluation team member is Dr. Santosh Kazar. He has experience more than 7 years in various public health domains like behavioral research in social marketing for health promotion, and implementation of RMN CHA Plus program. Dr. Santosh holds a bachelor's degree in dental surgery and a master's degree in public health. Okay, team, over to you.
Thanks, Ritu. Yeah, we initially were curious as to how such an intervention can bring about any of these changes, the objectives of the program, that is behavior changes and improved self-care practices, metabolic control. We were still it was driven more of curiosity than anything else, and we were interested to actually use the best techniques and tools of monitoring and evaluation to get to know the answers for why, how, and how much the change has actually happened. So the main objective of the evaluation team was to quantify or objectively measure the original objectives of the program. So the evaluation objectives were to assess the changes in the behavioral characteristics and self-care practices of the participants who were exposed to this SALT CLCP methodology, to determine the changes in the metabolic control status of the disease conditions that we were measuring in these in the selected geography, to examine the role of this SALT CLCP methodology in building the capacity of frontline health workers for enhanced community engagement in non-communicable disease management in the community. So a quasi-experimental design was adopted for evaluating this program. As we know, in a community, it's very difficult to randomize the people inside the villages. So this was the best design, which was scientifically and both epidemiologically sound and rigorous. So the geography was divided into 4 arms, I can say, or 4 groups. Group 1, which was also called as old CLCP group, which was the intervention side. They were part of the previous HealthRise intervention geography. And they were in the previous HealthRise intervention, they were exposed to the SALT CLCP methodology. And during the transition phase also, they were exposed to SALT CLCP. Group 2 also, we named it as new CLCP. which means that they were part of the previous health rise intervention geography, but they didn't receive, they were not exposed to salt CLCP previously. During this transition phase, they were exposed to salt CLCP. So as you can see, group 1 and 2 are the intervention arms. Both of them received salt CLCP in this transition phase. Group 3, named as only health rise, wherein these villages, they were part of the previous health rise intervention geography, but they didn't receive, they weren't exposed to salt CLCP, and during the transition phase also, they were not exposed to salt CLCP. Group 4 were the control arm, the counterfactual 2. This set of villages and group of people were new to health rise, wherein they didn't receive any intervention. They were used as a counterfactual arm to their involvement was only during the baseline, the follow-up studies, and the end-line evaluation. Mixed methods was used as a evaluation technique here to measure the changes in behavior and self-care practices, to measure the changes in the metabolic control, and also to quantify the participation and the acceptability of people in salt CLCP activities. We used a quantitative study, and we used a quantitative tool to measure all this with the help of a very dynamic team, the field teams of Chai and Mamta. They underwent rigorous training sessions in these tools, and even for field surveys, and this was done. Qualitative in-depth interviews were also conducted with various stakeholders. We understood that we need perspectives and viewpoints of all the stakeholders involved in the community and who are receiving, both receiving and providing this intervention. So the stakeholders here were the patients and their caregivers, the key opinion leaders in the community, frontline health workers from the government side. These are the ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, senior health workers, that is the ANMs, and also the implementation partners, both the field teams in terms of outreach workers, and also the site coordinators, the team leads, etc. This was done to understand the processes associated with the behavior change, if observed, and also the processes associated with improvement in metabolic control, if any. So we wanted to know the answers to the how and the why questions of these changes in metabolic control. I won't take too much time in explaining this framework which we follow. This is just a snapshot of a very rigorous sort of a framework we had, M&E framework, monitoring and evaluation. So all I want to say is each, the activities, the outputs and the outcomes were measured using certain indicators, and the indicators you can see in the second row. And all of this was done, the data was collected, and all of the monitoring and evaluation was done using participant observations during field visits, checklists. We had the quantitative tool, as I mentioned, the qualitative studies, the weekly updates from the partners, and the monthly meetings that we had with the partners, and the quarterly reports that we submitted after experience reflections after each SALT meeting. And MIS dashboard, the management information system, was used to both collect the data, store the data, do preliminary analysis, and that dashboard was used to enable us in evidence-driven decision making at the field level also. And qualitative interviews, we triangulated all of these data using the qualitative interviews to get a very holistic picture of what is happening in the field and to answer a few of your questions. Social media platforms played a very important role to update each other, and it brought both the sites, the Shimla and the Udaipur groups. It aided in co-learning and sharing of experiences with each other, and sharing of strategies as to how to better the program in both the areas. And also it motivated the field workers looking at what the others were doing. And also after experience reflections were shared after each SALT meeting through the social media platforms, which aided the evaluation team also. The evaluation team conducted multiple field visits in both the sites, Shimla and Udaipur, at various stages of the program to firstly understand what was happening, to understand the intervention better, to conduct qualitative interviews with various stakeholders, and also to to be participant observers in these meetings to understand better. Certain quality control mechanisms, like as I mentioned, certain checklists on a weekly basis was given to the field teams and the social media. All of the field visits, all of them aided in quality control mechanisms that we followed. This is just to give you a brief idea as to how many interviews we conducted. As you can see, all of the stakeholders, we had representation and perspectives of them. So in total, we had 125 qualitative interviews to not to miss out on any in any key aspect and any behavioral theories. Coming to the distribution of the participants according to the disease condition, Shimla totally had 459 participants. 22 of them had only diabetes. 69% of them had only hypertension, and 9%, 42 patients had both the conditions, diabetes and hypertension. Udaipur, there were 309 participants. 9% had only diabetes. A majority, 79%, almost 4/5 of all the participants in Udaipur had only hypertension, and 12% had both the conditions. The below bar diagrams and bar graphs tell you the distribution of participants according to their disease condition and also based on which intervention arm they belong to, old CLCP, new CLCP, health rise and control arms. I request Dr. Santosh to enlighten us further with respect to results. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anant. Thank you for setting stage to share results and take participants through the results. Yeah, before going into the results, I would like to explain a few points. So for ease of understanding and to reduce the confusion, I will refer the old CLCP and new CLCP arms, that is group 1 and group 2 as intervention arms, and the health rise and the control arm as control arm. So this is for just for the sake of ease of understanding. So in this study, we have included all participants in the villages. There was no any sampling. So everyone who is fulfilling our criteria were included in the study, and all villages are exposed to all villages. They can participate in these SALT meetings. So when we looked at the socio-demographic characteristics, especially in Shimla, the intervention and control arms were comparable in terms of age distribution, education, family type, the type of ration card, that is above poverty line and below poverty line type of ration card, which is an indicator for the economic status. And but in Shimla, the groups were significantly different in terms of occupation and the gender. So if you take the gender, in the control arm, the proportion of male participants are high, and in intervention arm, the female participants are high. Around 70% in the intervention arm were females, and 58% in the control arm were females. And in Udaipur, the groups are comparable in terms of age, gender, and education. The significant differences were observed in especially occupation, the family type, that is nuclear and joint family, and the APL and BPL card. So this is the overall socio-demographic characteristics of the population. So we almost started with a similar groups at the baseline. Next slide, Anant. Yeah. So I'll start with the outcome, that is the metabolic control, because it is because we are all trying to see how the metabolic control was there in the among the participants. So in baseline, both Udaipur and Shimla, we have looked at the metabolic control. We have applied the criteria of national NPCDCS program and ICMR guidelines for diabetes. So in Shimla, the metabolic control was observed in the range of 53 to 66%, and in Shimla the groups are comparable, whereas in Udaipur the intervention arm has a better metabolic control in the starting. But as the intervention progressed, the intervention arm had a better control, and it increased to 80%. It reached 80% at the end line. And between the follow-up two corresponded February 2020, and the end line corresponded with the May and June of 2020. So there was the lockdown was announced between follow-up two and end line. So when this pandemic, the lockdown was announced, then in Udaipur we observed a reduction in metabolic control, especially in the control arm, that is Healthrise, and the control arm it reduced. Next slide, Anand. Then we explored like the metabolic control. Yes, the intervention was worked and metabolic control is there, but how this metabolic control came, what are the factors that that brought this metabolic control? And again we went back into the data. We collected data related to the behavioral and self-care practices. So one of them is the physical activity. So in the baseline, both in Shimla and Udaipur, the physical activity levels are low, and they are comparable. Then as the intervention started, so by the time end line, the physical activity levels have almost no increased by 4 times in Shimla, and also in Udaipur it increased by around no 3 times. And in Udaipur, from follow up 2 to follow up the end line, the people are able to maintain their physical activity levels even during the COVID-19 lockdown. At the end line, yes, intervention the physical activity levels are significantly higher in both Udaipur and Shimla. But the Healthrise arm of the Udaipur, yes, there was an increase followed by decrease in the physical activity levels. Next slide, Anand. Yeah. Then we went to see how dietary patterns, the consumption of fried, spicy, oily food changed. So are there any changes in the diet? Then we looked at the data. So yeah, initially the consumption of fried and the oily and spicy food was high. In Shimla it was 90%, and it was around 70. It was between 54 to 73% in Udaipur. But as the intervention went, the control arm of the Shimla, so there was no changes. But the remaining three arms, including the intervention arms, the consumption has drastically come down, and and from follow up to end line, it has fallen even drastically. Even they have reduced in a significant way. In Udaipur, the intervention arm, they have also shown the significant reduction. Yes, Anand, next. So the tobacco consumption, then we analyzed the data for the tobacco consumption. Tobacco consumption was around 9 to 15% in the Shimla, and 5 to 13% in Udaipur. And the one thing that we observed is, by the time of end line, especially in Udaipur, the intervention arms, they have completely stopped tobacco consumption. It almost came down to zero. So that is one of the very interesting fact that we have observed. And I'll share one story while in the qualitative findings, why they are able to reduce their tobacco consumption, how this tobacco cessation was achieved. Then yes, so overall the tobacco consumption has come down in the intervention arm. Next, Anand. Yeah. So similarly, alcohol consumption, the control arms have a higher proportion of alcohol consumption, and in Udaipur, it has increased. The consumption of alcohol has increased from follow-up 1 to end line, and and in the Shimla, the intervention arms more or less they maintained the consumption. It was a there was a decrease, but it was not very much significant. Yeah. Yes. Next, Anand. Then the visit to healthcare facility. So initially, the visit to healthcare facility was between 63% to 85%. Healthcare facility visits are high in the control arm compared to the uh, intervention arm, but over a period of time they have reduced, and from follow up to follow to end line they have reduced further. So one factor for this is the COVID-19 lockdown, and we have asked the participants why, and we found out answers. Then they cited reasons like the lockdown due to COVID-19 pandemic, and the distance and the access related problems they have cited, the transportation cost, and the long queues at facilities, and poor quality of services. So the people have cited uh, these uh, these reasons. um, yeah. Yes, Anand. Next. So the medication adherence. So in Shimla, the medication adherence especially in control arm, it was 90%, and it increased it to 98%. Whereas in the intervention arm, it was 75%, between 69 to 75%. It also increased it to 90%. So there was a significant improvement. Shimla, the control arm, has better medication adherence at baseline and has improved throughout the intervention. And uh, and Udaipur, the medication adherence was comparable, but has improved over a period of time. So this explains that okay, the metabolic control was due to the changes in these behavioral and self care practices. Then next slide, Anand. Then we tried to develop a model which behavioral practice contributed most to the metabolic control. So what changed significantly and achieved the metabolic control? Then we found out that the in Shimla it was age, that is the lower age, the higher education, that greater than or equal to 10th class, and the consumption of reduced consumption of spicy food are the significant predictors of the metabolic control. Whereas in Udaipur, it was the visit to healthcare facility was found to be significant predictor of the metabolic control. Then then the next question that came to our mind is what changed these behaviors? Why people have changed their behavior? Then we went into the community. We have done in-depth interviews right from the patients, their caregivers, the program managers, the frontline health workers, including outreach workers by implementation partners, and the ASHAs and ANMs. Then we analyzed the data, and we found three major themes from the qualitative data. So these themes are: first one is the observational learning from the co-participants. So during meetings there was an active knowledge sharing among participants, and also skill sharing. So due to the sharing of knowledge and the improvement of skills, participants are able to learn from each other. The other one is the changes in the family support. As earlier mentioned, the family members have also attended these meetings, and this resulted improvement of knowledge, and the family members have also understood these diseases and their severity. Then they also started caring about uh, the patients. So there is a shift in the environment in the house, the caring environment. So environment, the people used to care their family members at home as well as at community level. The next one is SALT meetings acted as a platform for as a platform for community to discuss things. So they discussed wide range of topics, right from the organic agricultural to the to various disease related practices. So this provided as a platform, and where all people of the all age groups have come together and shared no they shared their dream. And so this might have resulted a change in change in the environment, and enabling environment was created in the community that led to the behavioral change, and behavioral change led to the metabolic control. So this is the overall overview of our evaluation or the results. Next, Anand.
A lot, Santosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can take questions at the end of this program, or you can.
Yeah. If you could answer them now, we
Okay.
just take them along. Yeah, just few of the questions. Rest we can respond over email, I think.
Sure. I'll just check the chat.
Yeah, so there is one by Mr. Manoj. This is about the contribution and attribution question. How can you associate the changes with SALT? Yeah.
Right.
think that's
I can't see the question, but can you please
Yeah.
read it?
Yeah, there are many questions. Like one I can read. Yeah, whether behavior change was really associated with metabolic control, and how you are certain that there were no confounders in that association.
Yeah, very good question. So one is attribution. The other thing is causality. It's very difficult for an evaluation team to, without any doubt, tell that this is because of this. So that's why in the design of the study phase itself, we have made note of this, and the whole geography was divided into 4 arms. One which received 2 doses, if I can use that word, 2 doses of salt CLCP intervention. The second arm received 1 dose. The third arm had communication with the HealthRise team, but did not receive salt, and the fourth did not have any communication. So we wanted to see if there's any dose response, also if there's any changes between these groups. So all of this was done to see if salt is the reason behind the behavior change and the metabolic control. And the reason behind, or how we can say that the behavior led to better control, if there's a correlation between the two by using appropriate statistical tests, we can prove that as the behavior improved, the metabolic control also moved in the same direction. If that answered your question, Manoj.
Yeah, while developing the model, the predictors of metabolic control, we have accounted the baseline characteristics, baseline self-care practices, and the socio-demographic characteristics. Then we try to identify which are significantly contributed to the metabolic control. Then we identified those factors, age and education, and the reduction in consumption of spicy food in case of Shimla, and in case of Udaipur, it was healthcare facility visit. They contributed most to the metabolic control. Yeah, and I saw a few questions on whether these are self-reported. Yes, so medication adherence and the other practices, we have cross-checked with their medicines, and also the with the prescriptions. So especially visit to healthcare facilities, so we have cross checked with the prescriptions, but the tobacco and the alcohol consumption, it is self reported. But we have taken care to train our ORW, the frontline health workers, to ask right questions. So yeah, so some of them are self reported. Yes.
Okay, any other question? I can answer some, and our implementation team can take some questions. But first, the evaluation team.
Yeah,
Okay.
I see a question from Dr. Swaroop. What are the tests used to measure metabolic control? That's a very relevant, pertinent question, Dr. Swaroop. we recorded the tests that they had done in any of the facilities that they were comfortable going to. And in the last 3 months, if they visited a healthcare center and got themselves tested their BP and sugars, we have recorded them. If not, we have checked for the random blood sugars and the BP at their domiciliary setting. So it is not HbA1c, but the readings that they had from the centers and BP.
Yeah, there's another question. I don't know. It's maybe you could take it. What was or is the overall value of the program?
Is the question for us?
Okay, let's find. Yeah, you can if you the evaluation team can answer. Ian will answer your question through the implementation team. Okay, and evaluation team, would you like to say something before we move to the implementation team? Anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we this is just a part of what we have. I'm sure in the actual report there are many more interesting findings. Maybe Ritu can help share a very abridged version of the report which I've shared, and also many more rigorous techniques like how Dr. Swaroop had mentioned. HbA1c could have been done, but due to many challenges and barriers, those couldn't be done. This is a few of the limitations and challenges that we face. Otherwise, an interesting intervention like this had a very rigorous evaluation method. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, evaluation team, for accompanying us in this process. Now, before we have some questions, right, which the implementation team can answer, I just want to tell you all that I was also involved in this project. And now let's listen to Kamalika. Would you please take on the slides? And I invite, what do the managers think? What do the managers of this project think? What did they stood out for them? And then if there's any other question which is pending, yeah. Before this, the organic farming one, Kamalika, I want to add something to it. Yeah. So you remember Rajendra's story about organic farming? Yeah. So I just want to add to it is that, see, this village, they were aware of that they are not taking, that they are putting, chemicals in their own, because they're mostly farmers. But what SALT and CLCP did was it gave them a space to think about it, to reflect and realize the connection with their health and the future, their children, and that is they, as if they needed something to kind of motivate them. So this question, that attribution, I wouldn't call it attribution, I would say in some way SALT can be answer of stimulating people to take action. That means health system has a role. It doesn't mean that institutional response is not required. It just means that they both go hand in hand. Don't dismiss the role of the community. It's really important. Yeah, so now I'll invite next slide, please, Mr. Martin. He's from Catholic Health Foundation of India. He works as the documentation officer, and he will share. I asked him a question: what stood out for you? So he'll tell you what stood out for him. Over to you, Mr. Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Ritu. Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I was part of the team which was implementing this project in Udaipur district of Rajasthan. And from whatever I have learned from this project is this, the entire CLCP approach is one of the ways of, involving community in battling the non-communicable diseases, particularly diabetes and hypertension. Generally, what we see is it becomes an individual's battle wherein he or she has to, adhere to medication, make modifications in lifestyle, diet, physical activity, so and so forth. But the uniqueness of this approach, the CLCP approach that I learned and saw was that apart from the individual, the support also comes from the community, and the community collectively, works towards finding ways of controlling these diseases among each of the members within the community. So this is one unique learning that I got from this program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mateen. Let me share a story from Udaipur. It's a beautiful place. I went for a salt visit, okay? And there was this old lady, and then there was her family, um, and she had diabetes, and she has. So she says that I don't have symptoms. I I eat sometimes when I have a headache or I have some symptom, but I don't eat. And I said, what would you like to do? And she says, I can't walk. She says, I really miss, going around my village. I'm very social. And I said, would you like to do that? And she says, when I talk to other ladies, I feel so happy. But I'm because of this, I can't go. And her son and her daughter-in-law was sitting with, and I said, what would you like for your mother? And that is when they said, I think she has not been going because it's my responsibility. I should have taken her because to collect the medicine, it's a bit far. And the change after that we saw. So this is what an appreciative kind of approach does. So if let's next. Mr. Vinaykan, what stood out for him. And what I'll do is, because so many people are asking these questions, I will go through the process with you all again. Okay. And whoever is interested can ask other questions. So Mr. Vinaykan from Mamta, what stood out for you? You've been involved in so many projects. Kamalika, next slide, please.
Yeah, see, Ritu and all, once again, good evening. As I told you initially, because it's for me, I was, since the start of this project, I was part of this project. And what stood, because I was really impressed was that, the empowerment of the patients in the community, because the patients and the community took the things in their own hand. They were responsible for their own health. Okay, and two examples, and the other part was that, the proactive approach by the frontline health workers. That's very, very important, because in the Indian healthcare system, frontline healthcare workers, play a very, very major role. Okay, it has empowered them, and very proactively, I think through this approach, they took the things. One example is that, in Shimla, Thiog block, one ASHA worker started weekly yoga session for the community. ASHA is overloaded with a lot of responsibilities, but she took the initiative, started weekly session of yoga. You can see that in the photo. That's one of the, really, because impressive thing what happened. And second, of course, earlier you shared that, the organic farming, because because pesticide use, because it's responsible for some of the, the NCDs. So, when you capacitate the community through CLPC approach and NCD, because again, the organic farming they started, which they didn't do that earlier. So I can really attribute this, these two changes, among the frontline health workers and the community and the patient to SALT approach and CLCP. I'm totally convinced on that. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay. Let's, we asked a patient as well, and please listen to him carefully, Thakur Dutt. And that will give you an idea what was going on from the perspective of a patient. Kamalika, how was it for him? It's just a minute's video. Okay, and yeah.
मैं ठाकुर दत्त शर्मा सॉल्ट मीटिंग में गांव के बहुत सारे बीपी और शुगर के मरीज आते थे। मीटिंग में सभी लोग अपनी अपनी बीमारियों के बारे में डिस्कशन करते थे, जिससे कि मुझे एक्सपीरियंस हुआ फिर कि सभी लोगों ने अपने एक्सपीरियंस शेयर किए। कईयों ने बताया कि हम नियमित रूप से व्यायाम करते हैं और कईयों ने बताया कि हम नियमित रूप से दवाइयाँ खाते हैं। तो उससे मुझे प्रेरणा मिली लोगों से कि मैं भी अपनी दवाइयाँ नियमित रूप से शुरू करूं और नियमित रूप से योगा करूं। फिर उससे मुझे फ़ायदा ये हुआ कि नियमित रूप से योगा करने से और नियमित रूप से दवाइयाँ खाने से मेरा बीपी काफ़ी हद तक कंट्रोल में आया। फिर सभी लोगों ने सॉल्ट मीटिंग में निर्णय लिया कि हम सभी लोग एक कैंप का आयोजन करेंगे और जिसमें कि हमने एक कैंप का आयोजन भी किया उप स्वास्थ्य केंद्र ब्लॉक में, जिसमें कि 48 लोगों ने भाग लिया।
Okay, so uh, uh, what is happening here? If you listen to him, the patient is taking action for his own health, but as a group, they are taking some actions and not relying on the outsiders. So earlier, when we were not part, that is the SALT team, SALT training was not done. The staff of Mamta and Chai were organizing health camps, but here communities said it is important for us, and they started organizing the health camp. Yes, as I said before, it's unlearning for the community. So unless you continue this process for a longer time, it will not be sustainable because they're not used to it, right? So that is why such approaches have to. They also have to need to. They need to develop that habit of doing things for themselves. As there are a lot of questions on how did we do it, we were to have a breakout room, but if you all want, we can go through the process how we did that. And I would really request Dr. Gaurav is here, Dr. Rekha and Harsha and other implementers. Please join in to answer the questions. I was just coming and training. You were the stars, and the communities were the biggest stars actually. So if Kamalika can show the CLCP cycle, and then I can share. And please, you can continue to please ask questions because I really don't know what to share. Yeah, the one with the cycle, Kamalika. Okay, what happened? Let me tell
Just
you.
a minute. Yeah, I'm just sharing.
Take your time. Take your time. I could not show a video where Anil, one of the facilitators, and Arvinder and Arun others shared that when COVID came after, I think in March, the team stopped going to the community, and the community members, they said, oh, it's our health, it's not their health. So they took medicine, they exercised, they organized yoga camp themselves, wearing masks. So if we don't prepare the communities to take care of themselves, we'll have many disasters, and they will still wait for us to come, and we may not reach in time. Okay, let me begin again. What did we do? Okay, so and Dr. Nayanjit is also there. Dr. Nayanjit, you had a very, very important role here. And so what happened was this Health Rise project was doing fantastically well. It is funded by Medtronic Philanthropy and Dr. Nayanjit from Medtronic, and Komal, who was from ABT Apt Associates, who were at they were kind of managing the project. We had discussions, many discussions, and they said that the supply side, that provision of services, we've been able to do well. We have been able to give awareness to the community. Um, but 1 year is left, and we are worried that if we leave them right now, they may not continue. We're extremely concerned about them. And they invited us just as a pilot to apply this SALT approach in just a few villages, as Mr. Vinayakan shared. Okay, so here I arrive, and this is additional work for the team, right? That's the challenge. So how do we convince them? Why do they need SALT? And I did not want to convince. And Shakil ji is also there. So please add Shakil ji, who's also one of the facilitators. So so that is a challenge. If I look from my side, that teams which are already 4 years into the project. The second was they were so used to going and organizing for the community, awareness, knowledge, skits. So they struggled when from telling the community, you are supposed to eat your medicine, to appreciate, listen, and learn. So that unlearning. And you know what? The communities were totally taken aback. They used to come and keep giving us lectures. Why suddenly they want to listen to us? And they would, these two female colleagues, they said that earlier, when we used to go, they used to say, they would pretend, they are sleeping. Because again, they will come and give us some kind of, orientation. And now when we listen and appreciate, they call us and they say, sit, we want to have a conversation. So when Manisha asked me, this is the challenge. This is the problem is not the community. I'm telling you that. That's what I have learned. And once we started changing, and one question was, what is the difference between this approach and others? I don't know. I've been trained in many, many approaches. I've dabbled, and I'm also an evaluation professional. I will not go on anecdotes. That we change. Once we change, everything changes out, right? And the second thing, so they start appreciating, and then we start involving the families. Now, families are very important in health, whether encouraging to take medicine on time, the diet, right? And exercise. So the young people in the community said, okay, we are going to also go for a walk with you. So it became multi-generational. The way the food was cooked, the way the services were accessed. And we know that, women, first is the women don't really take care of their health as much as they should. They take it casually. But here they realized how important, and the others realized how important it was that the women were taken care of. Similarly, it's hard to engage, at least in our part of the world, the men. And I'm so happy to hear, because even I couldn't go there. The evaluation team sharing that the involvement of men was high. So that is the step one, appreciating, listening. And they trying to listen to each other. And what happens is that the bond between the communities members, it starts strengthening. It builds trust. So trust between the NGO staff or the health worker and the community, and the trust amongst them. And okay, you have strengths and I have strengths. And that is the point. That's when we go to the step two. When they say we want to do something, and then asking what is their dream. The dream question is very important. We spend a lot of time thinking, what are we going to ask? Not diabetes and hypertension. We are going to ask, what is your dream for your health? And I think that was the game changer here. The step three is, which we could not do here because of COVID-19, is, okay, my dream is really nice. For example, the communities said we have hypertension, but we don't take action, right? We are at a very low level. We need to take. So you don't have to tell the community this is wrong with you. They know it. But when they assess themselves, they know the reality. The dream is big, but reality, it's not there, right? And that is when they start encouraging each other and they start taking action. So the action plan, and then they take action. The last step is bringing these communities who are taking action to learn from each other. Unfortunately, in phase 2, because of COVID, we could not do it. Yeah. So anyone else from the team would like to answer? If anyone else has questions, we are happy to take. I don't want to give a lecture here. One interesting story, let me tell, because it was yesterday, International TB Day. So these 2 teammates go for a SALT visit to appreciate, okay? And this, the husband wife, because the trust is built, she starts crying. And she says, my husband was diagnosed with tuberculosis a few months ago, but we've not shared with anyone because we'll be stigmatized. No one will interact with us. But I think I can share now. And then she goes and shares it with the entire community. And she says, I'm scared you will do this. And the community starts supporting. And then the husband accesses the treatment. So the question, what the SALT can do, these little things SALT can do. Okay, so there's another, if you have any questions. Yeah, Dr. Gaurav, Dr. Rekha, would you like to share something? What stood out for you, Dr. Rekha? You were the manager also.
Hi Ritu, hi everyone. I'm Rekha. I worked in the technical capacity with CHAI for implementing the project in Udaipur. First of all, it was a very unique kind of experience for me because I am a healthcare worker and a medico by profession. I have worked in the health systems, but I have not worked with the community at that close, So when I went to Udaipur and I saw these SALT meetings, I was really amazed the way the community gets involved when these meetings are conducted. It was very unique experience for me, because I have seen community coming at a village center or a healthcare facility, taking the immunization shots, going back, attending VCDC meetings and all. But I've never seen a community interacting with each other so much and at that level, which SALT encourages us to. So that was a very standalone part of and a very unique part of this project, which amazed me, and which it definitely showed results. The results that were now discussed with from Dr. Anant and Dr. Santosh, we can see that there have been improvements in the health status and health seeking behavior of people, particularly in Udaipur. The community, they had this, they started doing SALT visits at their own level. The frontline health workers were very encouraging, though they were too much of burden with work, but still many of the the Anganwadi workers, the ASHA workers, they themselves started conducting SALT meetings at their own place, at their own house. So though they bringing in the community together, and during our visits, we not only saw females from the community participating in the meeting, we also saw male participants. So that you usually cannot see in a health facility, right? So in an Indian setting. So that stood out for me for the entire project. And thank you, Dr. Nayanjit Chaudhary, for giving me this opportunity. Ritu, CHAI, thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else from the team, and otherwise we move to the next. Yeah.
Dr. Gaurav?
Yes.
Dr. Asha, Dr. Gaurav?
Dr. Nayanjit, anybody? And then your voice is important.
Well, I'm very pleased to see the direction in which this conversation has progressed. So I'm actually emotional right now, having seen the progress that the entire team through the massive collaboration has attained. And so at this moment, I'm trying to keep my evaluation hat actually away and try to understand sort of a little deeper level, the experience we all have had since the beginning of our conversation sometime in 2000, I guess 16, 17, and through last 4-5 years. And now as we see, when we did the experiment precisely on salt, we did not really expect the kind of results that Dr. Anant and Dr. Santosh just presented. This is only probably a very kind of a glimpse of the total results, which hopefully all of you will see when some of these get published. But essentially, it does raise a hope that very in-depth community engagements through the kind of interventions as SALT and CLCP do, I guess, bringing about changes in community behavior, leading to treatment outcomes, both in short and long term, will not be a far-fetched dream. However, as we are quantitative thinkers mostly, it would be worthwhile to really follow this over a long period of time and then measure if there's a long-term implication. Unfortunately, funding is a major issue. However, if there's a will, there's a way. We'll be very happy to remain engaged from WIC-FI in any effort that the community or the consortium would like to continue, possibly through potential collaborations in future to measure. So congratulations, Ritu and the entire Constellation team, and then a great privilege to have worked with the implementation team of Mamta and Chai in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One thing, we must appreciate Dr. Nayanjeet was coming from a funding agency and believing in that people can do things for themselves. It's very hard. So deep respect for you. And the last person who is monitoring us. Yes, our very special Mridula. And then we'll reflect and we'll close. Yeah, Mridula.
Thanks, Ritu. So I was a part of the evaluation team, and I was the one who interacted the most with both the implementation sites and people over there. And I think it was a wonderful experience for me as an evaluator, because I actually saw people just sharing their stories and how just by sharing their personal stories motivated them and encouraged them to share their personal experiences with their chronic conditions, and also how they dreamt for their 2030, what did they dream of, and what was their expectation from themselves and from their own community. They drew it. They actually composed songs to actually communicate the message about diabetes and hypertension. I think it gave them a way to actually communicate with other people, and especially for the ASHA workers, they found it really good tool to interact with the patients and people whom they had to meet from door to door. So I think this was a wonderful experience for me personally, and as a professional, I would say I think working in this project has been one of the biggest opportunities for me. Thank you, WIC-FI, and thank you, Ritu, Constellation, implementation partners, Mamta and Chai. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot. Now just, just let's reflect, okay? Whatever we are doing, whether we are part of a team or what would you do differently? What is one takeaway? Because it's very important that we learn from each other and what wisdom you all bring in. Would you like to share in the chat? One learning from today's session. Never underestimate the community. Wow, Mr. Vinayakan, absolutely. We are having pearls of wisdom here. Let yourself be surprised by the creativity of others. Yes, leave it to them. They will find solution. I've seen it in sexual reproductive health. I've seen it with domestic workers, drug users. Absolutely. Yeah. Community will come together and face the challenge head on. Stories bind us together, make us one. Immediately, SALT immediately invites action, change. Yeah. When people feel valued, they take action. Listen to their stories and learn from them. Nice piece. Oh, I'm happy, Vivin, you're there. We have some stars here, let me tell you. It makes me very humbled to see all the teammates here. It's very humbling. Appreciation creates the trust. Yes. So if you want to build, deeply appreciate. You don't have to go to the community to do it. You can do it with your family today. Why not? Okay. Listen without judgment. Come on, there are lots of people here. Let's just one. We've offered online trainings. Everyone welcome. Yes, keep an objective lens. Absolutely. SALT is not a magic. It's hard. Facilitating is really hard. Our Indonesian, Singapore teammates, my GFC teammates are all here. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Okay. So that was very, very nice to read what you are saying. Ian, researchers, evaluators have data and communities have wisdom. Okay, so let's hear Luke. Luke, over to you. What has inspired you today? What are you feeling? And thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Yes, thank you too. What I am feeling, I'm feeling proud of the work that has been done with this through that collaboration, because this is a real example, although it may not be perfect so far, but it is a real example where we have been able to identify some correlation and some to make some significant improvement in life of people with one approach. And this study has allowed us to say on a more objective way that the methodology, the salt CLCP methodology is worth trying. It may not be, as Ritu is saying, it may not be the magic bullet for sure, but it is a helpful approach, a helpful method to be implemented at community level, and not only at community level. It's in all groups, in all kind of groups sharing the same concern. This is something that it's worth trying, and it's worth implementing in order to improve people's life there. So I was really happy to be part of that project as well. And in addition, I think it's an add-on, and it may call for more intervention, more evaluation in the coming years. But at least it has opened the way for more research, and also to it has triggered the interest of evaluator to go and see how we can evaluate in a rigorous way the behavior change that the methodology is creating. So that's also open new doors for future work with evaluators, with other organizations, and with community mobilization organizations there. So while we were going through that through this discussion, I was really happy to see all the reaction in the chat box in front of the hearing the results that have been achieved in Udaipur and Shimla. So I hope we can find another opportunity to discuss further either the methodology itself, but also the future way to assess and evaluate the impact of the methodology in the community. So my learning, as I put as my learning in the chat box of today, as everybody, but I also would like to thank all the participants of today, even if we did not have the opportunity to go in breakout rooms as expected, but at least we have had a good interaction there, and we hope to be able to organize more on other topics and on other aspects of the approach of the methodology itself. So I just leave you, Ritu, as a great organizer of this webinar. I will leave to you to conclude or to close the webinar as you have opened it. Thank you.
No, just thank you, and let's be co-travelers. And there are many ways. Salt is just one way. So, and we are very humbled, and we have a lot to improve, and we are happy to get your feedback. So please do fill in the feedback form, and join our online community. I can't stop saying that. Okay then, bye everyone, and thanks for giving 1.5 hours of your lifetime to us. Okay, bye-bye.